Idea.
Yep, and close the door.
All right, it is 6:30. 6:30 on May 12th, 2026. So I will call this meeting of the Manchester Conservation Commission to order. We're operating tonight as ever under the auspices of the Wetlands Protection Act of the Commonwealth, so under our local general wetlands bylaw. And we're here with two missions. One is to protect the wetland resources and the other is to serve our neighbors, some of whom are here. And we are conducting our meeting tonight by Zoom. It's entirely virtual in accordance with ongoing rules and regulations from the Commonwealth. And that has several implications. One is that we'll be recording. If you have your image recorded, you can shut off your camera. Another aspect is that we have a chat function, but we're going to ask you to reserve it only for questions about technology or process, not substantive comments about issues before the Concom because it does not become part of the record. And finally, we'll conduct all our votes tonight by roll call. I think that does it. Let me call the roll.
Okay, Jack.
First, Vice Chair Dr. Henry Ottinger.
Here.
Dr. Olga Hayes.
Here.
Gordon Turner.
Here.
Mr. David Lumsden.
Here.
And I am Steve Gang, your chair for the evening. And a quorum being present, we will dive in. Any announcements from the commission or from our able administrator, Bethany Barstow, here? All right, then we'll convene in public to hear a notice of intent, which is continued from previous meetings. Mass DEP file 39-0947, 18 Boardman Avenue, Manchester by the Sea, applicant Fred Morris. Project is proposed improvements to an existing seawall within and subject to coastal storm language and coastal beach and coast bank. So we've been through a fair amount on this. I'll also recognize that Mr. Jim Hammond has arrived. And is there someone here tonight to represent 18 Boardman?
Yes, I'm Jordan Fold with DeRosa Environmental Consulting, and I'm here representing Fred Morris, the client at 18 Boardman Avenue. And since our last meeting, we have done a site visit with the commission and we've received comments from Alicia Geelan with DEP, and we have since addressed those comments, and she has not had any follow-up comments to our response. I'm just going to share my screen so you can see the updated plans.
Welcome, Jordan.
You should be able to.
Great, thank you. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
So I've also asked Evan Guvendiren from DeRosa Environmental to join us tonight. Sorry, I was just hearing an echo. To join us tonight, and she's here to help answer any questions in regards to the coastal bank impacts. She's currently getting her master's in climate science and engineering from Northeastern and specializes in coastal resources. And so to address DEP comments, we provided the corrected fees owed to the town and state. We've included additional resource areas to the plans, although I'd like to emphasize there are no adverse impacts to any of the resources added to the plans, The only resources impacted are coastal bank and land subject to coastal storm flowage. We've also adjusted the coastal bank line and included data transects. We explained further in our response letter how the coastal bank performance standards are met, and we're happy to answer any additional questions the commission has.
All right, thank you, Jordan. Are there questions or comments from the commission? Recognize Dr. Ottinger.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Evan and Jordan. Guys, I've looked at this for many weeks now, and it's such a brute force approach. It's such an archaic approach to make something higher and bigger than everybody around me. And I'm very much opposed to it. My two questions are this. One is, could you provide an alternative that would potentially raise the seawall, but does not include the amount of fill that you've described to us? And the second question is, could you not raise the seawall, allow some seawater in, and provide a hardscape with salt-tolerant plants behind the wall to potentially provide mitigation that's much more environmentally friendly than what you're proposing? I'm just very surprised at DeRosa Group for proposing this. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry. Dr. Turner.
Didn't talk to Henry about this, obviously, but I guess my question was kind of similar, and I was curious if the applicants would consider options for native grasses that are salt tolerant and other ways of reinforcing the bank, either instead of raising the wall or perhaps in addition to the plans, right? Rather than raising it, filling it, and just putting grass back in, because it's clear from your narrative that you expect there to still be coastal flooding happening here. So I'm just curious why we're not sort of trying to make it a little more natural with natives and that are salt tolerant, and less, be a little more reinforcing for the coastal bank.
And I don't want to pile on here, but I'll agree with my colleagues that this is a very challenging permit application. And DEP has not given it anything near an endorsement. And I guess my question is directed toward our Manchester bylaw for wetland protection, which I believe mandates alternative analysis in this case, including a null alternative where you don't do anything, but hopefully some things like what Gordon Turner was just recommending. Unfortunately, it's been some time and I cannot remember. Did you do a full-fledged alternatives analysis, Jordan?
Let me check.
I'll jump in. This is Evan Govender in DeRosa Environmental. We did not do a full-fledged alternatives analysis. One, because there's no riverfront area, and two, because we're on the coastal bank and not necessarily within the no disturb, no build zone, where the bylaw would require that. But we do recognize and understand your concerns. This is a really tricky site for us, especially because this is a filled tideland fill situation, and it's not your typical coastal bank that you see, just around the corner from this site, where it's the ledge rock face, or the naturally vegetated sloping coastal bank site, right? So this area was manipulated from its natural state for many, many years. So the coastal bank on this site is really a mix between this man-made seawall, the fill behind it, and then lawn. So what a coastal bank functions to do is protect against storm damage and provide sediment to the resource areas at the toe of the slope. In this case, it would be the tidal flat. And so we don't see how this project would adversely affect the functions of the coastal bank, because we're keeping it the same as how it has existed for many years. We're just elevating it 2 feet higher. And I do hear your point. We have had conversations with the homeowner about potentially adding some native vegetation, some deep-rooted grasses behind the coastal bank to even protect the resource area further. And that is something he would consider doing. But we wanted to present this project again to the commission with the new supplemental information before we made any further project changes. And we kind of wanted to get a sense from you guys what your biggest concerns were with the project and how we could maybe revise the plans to help get this project approved.
Yes, my biggest concern, Evan, thank you for asking, is that it may just be an entirely downside project for the resource, meaning we can't prove in advance that it's not going to heighten the reflection of waves and damage the resource immediately seaward, nor can anybody prove that it's not going to have some unpredictable effects around the edges, corners of the raised wall, which are neighboring properties. And, the ocean is going to come up regardless of how high this particular property builds a wall. So that front lawn is going to flood, as it always has, regardless of how high the wall is. And regrading it is just further damaging the resource, which is currently, filled tideland. So I just do not see the merit from an environmental or wetlands standpoint. As I say, I think it's all downside.
So from what I've been learning through my my studies is that wave reflection is most impacted by the slope of a wall and the texture of a wall. And if it's okay, I just want to share my screen to show the photos really quickly.
You should be able to.
Okay, thank you. So I'll show the map first. So when I look at this site, I outline, so this is the property here at 18 Boardman. So when I look at this site, water comes in from Chubbs Creek here, and then this is the ocean, but waves come this way, right? I can annotate. Waves come this way. So this property, we haven't seen any, real impact as much as we have on this site and on our 18 Boardman. And this side is all protected. This is, you can see what I would call a typical unaltered coastal bank. So you can see how it's like the steeper contours here, and it's a more rocky ledge face that you would see. And so,
excuse me, could you tell us what you mean by we haven't seen any impact
on this side? So since the wave, am I still sharing? Yeah. So since the waves come this way, the brunt force hits actually this portion. See how it's kind of a jog? Most of the waves hit there and then spill over top here. It's not, the wave action isn't going past the 18 Boardman into this property. And I'll share the floodplains too. Oops. Is it working getting rid of my arrows? I don't know how to get rid of this now. Sorry.
All right, we can see through them.
Okay. So this is, if you can see, it's an AE flood zone on this side of the property, which is actually the top of Coastal Bank based on the transects, right? So all of over here is an AE zone, and then the VE zone is actually from the waves coming this way. So I can actually use this plan too. So you see these rock faces. This is what we would as the rocky intertidal shore. These are the natural rock. So the wall was built around these natural rock faces. And it's actually lucky that they're there because that texture, the roughness of those rocks and the slope of those rocks actually take a lot of the brunt force of the waves. So I don't think raising the seawall is going to cause a higher reflection, deflection of the waves because the slope is protecting it. And I have pictures better. So see how it's sloped here and it's
So-
not just a straight, concrete seawall. Have you guys been to like Hampton Beach? There's like that big concrete, smooth seawall. Those are the walls where you see the most reflection and deflection. So I'm not as concerned
Well,
about this
if the
site,
wave
but-
action, excuse me, if the wave action dis dispels most of the force of the waves is dispelled on those outcropped rocks, what will a 2 foot higher wall accomplish?
Right. So it's not, so you have to remember when this seawall was put in the 1800s, many, many years ago, it was likely to retain the fill that was back there. It's not put in to, you know, take the wave action away from the land. So the 2 feet is really for not necessarily the wave action, but the steady flooding that would come from the seas that overtop the wall. And you can see, areas where it's eroded.
Steve, it's Olga, if I may.
Yes, please.
Evan, I think that in the future, and certainly this project points us in that direction, is we really should be looking, as my colleagues have said, in situations like this at resilience rather than buffeting against the ocean by raising a wall. It's a temporary measure, yet it would set a precedent for all kinds, we're in a coastal community, for all kinds of walls going up, when we really should be looking at resilience.
Mhm.
So
And
that's
other
my 2
options.
cents.
And other options, Olga, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
I
Yeah.
should recognize Jim. Jim, you have your hand up. You want to jump in here?
Yeah, thank you. I think Olga kind of touched on my concern too, which is the precedence. I mean, I don't know how many feet more, why not 4 feet? Where, your argument is that this doesn't really increase any impact on the resource because it's already been damaged. But I think it's hard to know where you would stop, and the neighbors can't make the same argument as you. So you do become an island as the water goes up, and in other areas where the facts are slightly different. But I don't see an argument 1 foot, 4 feet, 6 feet. Where does it stop? And I'm far more willing to consider leaving the wall as is, but allowing work behind it to put in some, better drainage, gravels and natives and let the water kind of come over and wash back, than to fortify what could just be, an island over time, because both sides are going to have impact eventually. And we won't be in a position to let them raise their wall up, nor should we really consider it from a resource standpoint. So I just don't understand how we could do this on a precedent standpoint. And that's the additive comment.
Thank you, Jim. Yeah, Evan, most of us are familiar with other kind of historical um, ways of handling this kind of situation, and those include uh, um, ancient but functional drainage structures that exist behind the seawall to allow salt water, which is inevitably going to come up there, whether it comes as wave action over the top of the seawall or surge action around the edges of this property's higher wall, but to dispose of it, more quickly and provide the sediment enhancing features that we want from the coastal bank.
Mhm.
So I understand your argument that alternative analysis isn't required because this isn't a buffer zone. Although it puzzles me that anybody would have drafted a bylaw that said you have to meet those standards in the buffer zone, but not actually in the resource.
I don't
And
think I said that as an argument. I was just saying that's why we didn't
Okay.
include it in the first place. But we're happy to, I think I wanted to just come back without any changes
Mhm,
at this point,
understood.
just to get a better sense. Because what I'm hearing is most of the concerns, I think, is the fill behind the wall. And yes, raising the wall 2 feet, you're concerned about the channelization of water around the wall and affecting other properties that way too, is what I'm hearing. Is that correct?
Yeah. Also, the progress of sediment off this property will be altered considerably by raising part of this contiguous, neighborhood wall.
Mhm.
Gordon,
Yeah, I mean, I think, Evan, you're hearing some opposition to the raising of the wall as well for the reasons you just cited, like not knowing what the impact is going to be on the neighboring properties. I know you guys said in your response that you don't believe there's a lot of erosion happening at the foot of the wall, but I am curious because on the site visit, I noticed an area with some steps going down, and it seemed like at the bottom step there was a big gap between where the beach was and the lower step. And to me, that suggested that there had been some erosion happening there. I don't know if that's something that's transient that comes and goes or not, but I don't know if you have any details on that process and what's happening there at those steps.
Mm. I don't,
Okay.
no,
I
I'm
think, I mean,
sorry. I can look into
so
that
that
though.
kind of speaks to this concern that there is some action that's maybe happening there, and that raising the wall could increase that process.
Evan, you've heard from 4 or 5 commissioners. Is your feeling now that would you like us to vote on this tonight to close the hearing, or would you like to continue and come back with some other ideas?
We'll definitely want to continue, and come back. I have some other ideas that I want to go over with Fred.
Great.
Yeah,
all right,
thank you. I appreciate that.
before we go there, last round for members of the commission, other comments? And then I'll open up for public comment, beginning with the property owner, Mr. Mara.
Thank you.
Sorry, Steve. Oh,
Gordon's
sorry.
first.
Could I have one more clarifying thing?
Certainly.
I think you probably put it in the original application, but this wall, you keep saying it was there since the 1800s or something, can you just clarify that there was a license pulled in 96 or something like that? That was just for maintenance of the wall at that time?
Yes, it was because
Okay.
the wall was constructed prior to the Chapter 91 regulations. So once those regulations came into effect,
Okay.
all the fill in the wall was licensed in that you are allowed to maintain it. And we did
Okay.
get Chapter 91 approval to
At that
raise
time.
the seawall and the fill behind it.
Sorry, at that time, you're saying there was some raising of the wall happening in 96? Is that what happened?
Nope, we just got approval from Chapter
just
91
got.
for
I
this
see.
project.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you
Gordon.
for clarifying. Yep.
Go ahead, please, Mr. Morris. Just identify yourself for the record.
Sure. Fred Morris, the owner of 18 Boardman Avenue. And
Welcome.
thank you. one of the things that a little bit confuses me about the discussion is the waves don't actually hit the wall. What we have here is this, I guess you call it the swelling of the ocean when it surges in towards the railroad bridge, and just the top of the water spills over. The waves aren't actually hitting the wall. And as you can see, considering how many years we've been doing this, there's not a lot of erosion on the other side. It's just the ocean has come up. I read the article in the Globe about the average height of the ocean today versus 100 years ago. It's 11 inches higher. So to continue to keep the water from spilling over the top, raising it, and it doesn't have to be 2 feet. That seems to make sense rather than doing it in stages, but to raise it 1 foot would accomplish what we need immediately. And so that and there's no, washing of sediment into the coastal bank. It just a little bit of water spills over and it goes into the lawn. There's nothing. It's just destroying it's doing damage to the gardens and things like that, but there's no, and as the ocean continues to rise, there indeed will need to be, whether it be downtown Manchester or here, some greater protection from the rising water. But I don't know, I'm
Yes.
hopefully trying to make it clear we've been there obviously during these storms in the winter. They're always the winter storms. I guess it hasn't been a hurricane. And again, it's just high water, and you see the waves hitting down in Beverly Farms, and at one point they tore all the riprap off the railroad tracks, but didn't do any damage to us. And like as you said, the steps are recurring; they've got to be re-cemented, but that's just ongoing ocean effect. So
Okay, thank you.
It's not like if you look at the stuff in Beverly, that's taking a direct hit. You see the waves hit that, spray goes over the roof of those houses. It's an entirely different situation.
Yeah, that's happening at various points on the Manchester coast as well.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else in the public want to comment on 18 Boardman Avenue? I'm seeing none. So commission, may I hear a motion to continue?
So moved.
This
Seconded.
would be, our normal meeting time would be May 19, so our next meeting will be
June
what?
9th.
June 9. So your motion is to continue to June 9. Is there a second?
Seconded.
All those in favor? Gordon?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Olga?
Aye.
Henry?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Thank you all for coming, Mr. Morris, Evan, Jordan.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
We move now to a request for certificate of compliance on DEP file 39-0877, 17 Ashland Avenue, Manchester Marine Corporation, which installed 3 6-foot by 50-foot long floats and 1 4-foot by 30-foot long floats, each secured by 12-inch diameter piles. Nick, are you here for this evening, or is someone else speaking?
Hi, Steve. I'll be speaking tonight. Nick Eliades
Excellent.
speaking on behalf of Manchester Marine, 17 Ashland Avenue in Manchester. So, yeah, I believe I met with Bethany at the site. I believe everything constructed is in compliance with what was originally approved. We did have the engineer provide some as-built plans and write up that we didn't do all the work that was approved. 2 30-foot fingers on the front were not constructed at this time, and the reconfiguration of the slips in the back weren't done at all. So it's just the 3 50-footers and the 130 built as proposed.
Right. Any questions or comments from the commission?
Henry.
The
Henry,
quick
yes.
quick question, Nick.
Sure.
I noticed on like the submitted drawings, I'm looking at C-02. You've got structures that are you're not looking for approval for tonight. Is that right?
Correct. So if you're not sure which one, I provided two different packets because I realized you guys might want to see the installation of those mooring floats. They were actually on the original order of conditions as well.
Yep.
So I did provide that second packet. Are you in that packet or are you in the one that has the letter of from the engineer?
I'm probably in the first one that you mentioned that has the floats and then the remaining work that's behind or that's closer to the
Okay.
drawbridge.
So what's constructed in that is the three fingers off the front and the one smaller finger that are in the clear, like the rest. On this drawing, he does have the back as it was proposed, but that is more that's still as the as-built, which is the PDF before that in that packet.
Gotcha. Okay, thanks for clarifying that.
Sure.
Anyone else on the commission? Any comments from the public on 17 Ashland, Manchester Marine? All right, commission ready to vote?
I move that we
Okay.
issue a certificate of compliance for 17 Ashland Ave, Mass DEP 0390877.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? David?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Gordon?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Olga?
Aye.
Henry?
Aye.
And I'll make that unanimous, 6 in favor. Thank you, Nick. Keep up the good work. Good luck this summer.
Thank you, Steve and commissioners. Have a good night.
Mhm.
There being no other applications in front of us, we have minutes for review and new and other business that we will recess from public hearing for these matters. Minute first, any comments on the minutes for April 7?
Yes, I noticed that where the members present, Steve, you're missing from that. And then when we did the roll call, Jim is missing.
Yeah, I was not there. I'm missing.
Ah, you weren't there. Okay. But were you up members present? I noticed Steve was missing. I don't have a printed copy, so.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I should not be listed as present, but maybe Steve should be.
okay. And on
I think I should be. Yep.
the notice of the Tappan Street notice of intent, the second paragraph, Tappan Street is across from Masconomo Park, not Singing Beach Park.
Good catch.
And then in the minutes, it's seconded by Dr. Hayes, not Dr. Hates.
That's a good one.
Editorial comment.
Nice catch.
Unnecessary.
And those are my little things.
Thank you. That's helpful. Any other corrections or additions? All right. Can I hear a motion to accept as modified?
So moved.
One of those is a motion, the other is the second. All those in favor? Henry?
Aye.
Gordon?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Olga?
Aye.
And I agree. So it's unanimous. Now we move to new other business and enforcement. And that brings us first to, let's take up Smith's Point first in the hopes that that will be cheerful and short. I assume we have some folks here from both 33 and 31. Bethany, have you had a chance to update? And could you, if so, could you update the commission on this?
Hello. I've included in all your packets, each of the correspondences I received from both the parties of 31 and 33, but in doing so and investigating, I realized that, sorry, I get them confused a little bit. 33 was looking at the notice of intent proposed plan for like the septic installation, but that wasn't the approved plan. So I think there was like a misunderstanding there, but I made sure to let the party at 33 know that here's the approved order of conditions updated septic plan, so that we're all looking at like the same thing, because I think there was a bit of confusion there. Yes.
Okay. Excellent. So, I guess I'd like to hear briefly any comments from 33 or 31. Let's start with 31. Are the owners here?
Yes, we are here, as is our attorney, Mike Sullivan. I don't think we have any comments to speak of, but we believe that the letter that the lawyer for 33 Smith's Point sent is based on a misunderstanding of the situation, and perhaps would benefit from visiting the site.
Thank you.
Chairman, I'm Michael Sullivan, representing the Crosses.
Yes, go ahead.
I don't know if the members of the commission have had a chance to review the various correspondence. I did submit a letter in response to Attorney Fumarola's letter. I just wanted to take a few minutes to just sort of summarize how we saw the situation. Obviously, the commission issued a cease and desist order relative to the Hodgins Estate property at 33 Smith Road. We'd submit Smith Point Road. We submit that anybody, any casual or impartial observer who would go out there would see that they're artificially directing stormwater to the neighboring properties in the coastal bank, which is obviously unlawful. And for that very reason, the commission issued the cease and desist order. And the response, which really occurred when the Crosses themselves brought this issue up with the neighbor some years ago, really was to deflect attention from what they're doing, notwithstanding the commission's order. If you look at the ASB report that was submitted, they talk about 5 downspouts, which when you look at them are clearly directing stormwater away from the property and towards the other properties in the coastal bank, and the sump pump doing the same thing. And if you look at the report, they say that in 4 or 5 of those downspouts, the stormwater miraculously stopped short of the neighbors' properties in the coastal bank, and the same thing with respect to the sump pump. It's really not a technical engineering type report. It's more of a narrative advocacy piece. And culminating in the claim that they're not contributing to the wetness everybody sees out there at all, but that they'll nevertheless make some minor changes. So it's hard to take those minor changes seriously, or to think that they've taken the cease and desist order seriously when they're denying all responsibility and proposing such minor changes. And then at the same time, their counsel sent a letter with the shiny object of the Crosses' supposed violations of certain requirements. But as intimated before, there are no violations. There is no retaining wall that's proposed, I think because of a mistaken understanding of the plans that were perhaps used or proposed or approved at different times. A look at the property would easily reveal that. There's a road, construction road that was permitted. There's some semblance out of it out there now, but it's being phased out as the construction winds down and the erosion measures are in place. So I think between the combination of the really denial of any contribution of what's obvious to anybody looking out there, the really minor changes, I would suggest there's no reason to believe that they're going to make any significant difference in trying to deflect attention towards the crosses with invalid bases. We'd suggest should lead the commission to obviously not take any action or require anything of the crosses, but indeed question very seriously whether the response of the cease and desist order is really going to change the situation substantially. And we'd suggest, with all respect to the commission, that it seriously consider ordering or asking the estate why they don't do what we have been asking them to do for years, to just install a French drain or something of the kind that will stop this from happening. You know, the lawyers and engineers that have been paying is more expensive than the French drain that would prevent us all from having to be here. So,
Attorney Sullivan, thank you. That's a thorough reprise. My colleague Henry Ottinger has a comment.
I do. I just want everyone to take a deep breath. So I've been on the site twice. I've been in the house at, what's the number? Crosses, you're 31, right?
We're 31.
Oh, I got it.
That's right.
I got it right for a change. So I've been on the site for 33. I've been inside for 33, and I've looked at the water drainage situation. And the plan that I discussed with Thad on site and that we received like a plan for to mitigate stormwater seems very reasonable to me. That's number one. Number two is because the site is a low point on between 31 and Vlad, your lot.
58, Mascanoma.
There is natural flow of water down to the coastal bank. And I've observed it, and Steve's observed it, and probably many other people have observed it. So it's clear that in addition to the crosses, concern about the water, 33 also has a concern about coming close to some trees that are on their site on one of the roads that leads down to the guest house, and we should address that as well. But let's just jump ahead to solutions and solving this, and let's not go back too far in time to make any accusations. Thank you.
Well put. Someone here to represent 33 Smiths Point Road.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. My name is Carl Fumarola. I'm an attorney for the estate. And if I may, I'd like to share my screen and I will respond to all of those comments. And I appreciate what Commissioner Ottinger had to say about not going back in time. So I'll keep this brief. I was going to go through more of a history, but maybe I'll skip through that with those topics in mind. So if I can share my screen.
Excellent.
And you've
You should
also
be able
covered.
to.
Okay, thank you. I think it's this one, if this is right. Okay. And also I'll skip over some things because you already mentioned this report from ASB that we have. I just wanted to direct your attention to it. We did take the concern seriously. We've had our engineer examine the site. You saw the summary. He has his findings. on page 3 that there's no impact for stormwater issues. And then I want to get into that with some details and photos that I took because everyone might not have been to the site. And once I visited the site a couple of weeks ago, all of this became clear to me that there's really no impact, and I'll explain. So it's no stormwater impact. He goes through with an explanation, he has details, he has maps. So you have that report, you can look at it. There's a detailed analysis.
Could I pause you for a second,
Sure.
Attorney? The reason this came up is because we, Henry Ottinger and I, and then other members of the commission, visited the site during what we'll describe as the wet season this spring. And there was clearly water coming out steadily from one of the pipes. I don't know whether it's a roof drain or a sump pump, but it was draining continuously and steadily. And we could follow the course of that water downgrade and into the coastal bank. There is no disputing this. We have photographic evidence. It's the reason we issued a cease and desist. We are not open to engineering conclusions that refute common sense.
Well, I'll get to that. I'd like to see that evidence, and I'm going to show you why it makes no sense what you just said. So I don't know. I know that there was a pipe from a sump pump that has long since been disconnected. I don't know if it's that. I don't know how long ago that was disconnected, but I did see a pipe that was way down. That could be what you're talking about, but I know that's no longer in use. And I'm gonna get to this evidence that I want to show you. But anyway, aside from our engineer finding that there was no stormwater runoff, as he says on here, they will be taking some measures voluntarily. So it should be addressing everything, but I also just want to go back to some common sense issues. I'm showing you here, like Commissioner Ottinger said, we're downhill. This right here, 33 Smiths Point, it sits in a bowl. You have the cross, if you're facing the ocean, you have the Crosses property on the right. This is the Crosses here, and this is I think it's the Ratushnis who were here at the last hearing. They're here. We're in a bowl. They are both uphill from us. Okay? And then this is the Crosses here, uphill. This is the Ratushnis over here, uphill. And then they're all higher than us. The Ratushnis have this stone cliff that drains down. The same thing for the Crosses. And so if there's any stormwater runoff, it's coming from them. They're much higher than us. And then also, I want to point out that the property is about a football field away from the bank, and there's flat plain of grass between the house and them. And I'll show that's it here. This is about our property line, taken from our property line, and it's flat. If you go back to this picture, you can see how flat it is. And then there's a retaining wall here that's going to capture any water. So the first point, the property's in a bowl, they're higher, we're 300 feet away from it. It's really flat if you look at it. It doesn't really run downhill. And then also all of the runoffs from the gutters. So here are some here. These are the ones that are shown in my pictures. I know Thad in his report talks about 5 of them. There's one here. Well, let's take number 1 right here. This is it back here. It is right up against the house. It drains into this area right here. And it's not going any further than that. And then even if it was going to, you'll see in the photos, it would hit this retaining wall that's here. It's not getting over to the coastal bank. And it's the same thing for, this is another one that's shown, and it's on the other side of the retaining wall. It would empty right here. There's about 10 feet of grass. It's going to seep down, and then it's relatively flat. It's not going out over the bank. While over here on the side, you have high, drain down from the Crosses, and then up here it's high, would drain down from the Ratushnis. So that's, I mean, that's it on the drainage issue. I can't imagine. I hear what the chairman, was it Steve Gang, said about evidence of it. I don't know if that's the old sump pump pipe that's no longer in use. But I don't see any way how it can. And so I visited the site, and that was a finding of our engineer. But the other thing that it's a little bit ironic about the crosses, they're basically standing on top of a hill, yelling down at us saying to stop draining water onto their property, when they're the ones who damaged our client's property and encroached on it. I know there's talk about this. I don't want to go back in time, but I just want to point out if there's been any damage to anyone's property from erosion and problems with erosion controls, it's the crosses onto my clients, and I'll show you. In response to our letter,
Yeah, for better or worse, Attorney, this doesn't concern our venue, which is wetlands protection. The issue we had was not whether water was being directed onto a neighbor's property. That's not our concern. Our issue was that water could be traced directly from the end of a pipe that emanated from your client's property and scoured, meaning marked its path as it went, not obscured by other flows of stormwater sheeting off other heights and dumped over the coastal bank. These are facts. And the passage of time and the elimination of that pipe may have changed them, but I think we're going to have to agree to disagree on this matter. And as long as the sump pump pipe, or whatever that was, is no longer there and is no longer emitting stormwater, and you have solutions in process to take care of the drainage, I think I'd be curious other commissioners' opinion, but it sounds like our concerns for wetland protection have been resolved. Do you agree with that?
well, yes, I do. I think it has been resolved. And I have a question for you. Is when I was at the site, there was a pipe down here. I don't know if you could see my cursor, and it's no longer used. I suspect if there was any runoff over the bank, it must have been coming from that, because all the ones that are in use now up by the house, I don't see how they could. So it must be that pipe. And I'm told from the engineer and the trustee of the property that has been disconnected. It's no longer in use. So it seems like the problem's solved.
Good. Mr. Ottinger, Dr. Ottinger.
Thanks, Steve. Just super quick question, Mr. Fumarola. Have all the plastic pipes that are below the retaining wall that we're looking at on screen right now, and there was more than one on both my visits, have they been removed from the property? Because that would solve a whole lot of problems.
No,
I don't care
well,
about connection or not connection. I just want to know if they've been removed from the property.
no. Well, I only know about the one that's down here that I saw and asked the engineer about it, and he said it's been disconnected. It was still there. So
And
Okay.
on whose property was that, Terry?
I think it's right at the edge of the 33 Smiths Point property. My client's property is where
Okay, thank you.
that is. And I don't know about the other ones. I can't remember what is in Thad's report. I'm sure it's discussed in Thad's report.
Okay, thank you.
And I don't know if this concerns you. I just wanted to point out to one issue about construction runoff and if that's impacting the bank. I know that in response to our letter, there was a denial of issues about a construction access road. Just wanted to point out that the plans do call for a construction entrance, and there is one. And to the extent there's extra muddy runoff going down, I understand there should be riprap or wood chips there. That might control erosion. And then I also want to thank the Crosses, even though I know their lawyer just denied wrongdoing. We were mistaken about the retaining wall. We were looking at prior plans, but our concern about encroachment still remains, is that there was encroachment, but it seems like after we sent our letter, they did correct it. There used to be silt fence about 4 or 5 feet onto our property. They've since moved it, And so it's right at the property line now. So that's good. Thank you. And then they also cleaned up some of the erosion and dirt that came on down to our property. You can see where they cleaned up here. Yes, there's some damaged trees here where they had the silt fence several feet over, but it's not a big deal. The only reason why we're pointing it out is to the extent there's anybody's property is being damaged from erosion, it's our client that's downhill from the construction site. And that's all I wanted to say. So
Okay, thank you.
In
Any
summary,
other comments from the commission? Jim?
Yeah. I did not have a chance to go on site. It is supposed to rain this weekend, so maybe I'm not sure over there again. But I think Carl, you describe, the situation pretty well. It's your client's house is in a bowl, and I guess it's nice from our perspective that that bowl doesn't directly drain into the cove, but the water's got to go somewhere, and you haven't described really how that works. I mean, you're just saying it kind of melts away, but it's really uncertain to me, how you've resolved it. The water's going to accumulate. It could end up in someone's basement, and when you try and get it out, then we have kind of a problem. So I mean, with all due respect to my other member of the committee, I don't see how this is resolved the way you describe it. I mean, if you locate a house in a ravine, you're kind of set up for problems, even if it's been there for a long time. So I don't take comfort in the comments you've made or the blame. I mean, water's going to flow downhill and it's going to end up in your client's house, and we've got to figure out a way to make sure that doesn't end up directly flowing into Lobster Cove.
Yeah. So, if you guys don't mind, this is Vlad Rotishny from 58 Masconomo. So our property is where it kind of drains to, and I just wanted to go right now where everyone's kind of talking about. I don't know if everyone's able to see, but there's still as you could see, there's still drainage pipes right here. So this is kind of drainage pipes coming from this property. And you could see where I stand. This is not level. That property is certainly higher from where I stand right now. So, I mean, I definitely understand and appreciate some of those comments. But in addition to what the commissioners themselves saw during that significant runoff, it's clear that there's significant drainage from that property, but also, in the past, since we're newer residents, we don't know as much of the history as the Crosses do in this whole situation. So, but we think it's reasonable to try to address, some of those issues. But, from a standpoint of the elevations, as I'm standing where the drainage Lobster Cove is over there, this property is significantly above it. The retaining wall is all the way over there, but I don't think that's really stopping anything. And there's these two, I don't know what, there's two huge, these pipes that's been draining from, the property from 33 property for a while. So there's a reason the pipes were put in. They weren't necessarily put in by 58 Masconoma. I think they were put in by the 31 property to facilitate the drainage. I guess the question I have, it seems like elegant solution that's been used in many different places is installing a French drain, which would completely solve the issue, in addition to the issue, witnessed by the commission, despite any of the things that were, I understand is various findings by, that property, but to address it, why can that aspect not be done? Because that's a, well-known solution to this. And clearly,
I'm going to cut you short here, Vlad, because appreciate the comments on the site, the ground truthing, as we say, on site.
Yes.
But
so I'll let you. That's all I wanted to contribute to actually being right here right now. So,
and in response, grateful response to my colleague Jim. Um, I'm not sure the problem is solved either, but the steps that are outlined, planned in the memo from Thad Berry of ASB Design Group seem to me the appropriate next step for the cease and desist order. I saw one other hand. I think it's down.
Oh, I
No,
had,
it's up.
Mr. Chairman, I had it up briefly. Some of the points were Michael Sullivan again. Some of the points were made by a member of the commission and Vlad, no
Good.
disrespect intended. Obviously we reiterate the French drain point, but in terms of the proposed solution, and with all respect to Attorney Fumarola, it's unfortunate that Ms. Hess isn't here because I question whether the anything has been done by the 33 Smiths Point since the time of the commission's observations of the marked path, which is the same thing we including the crosses, have seen for years and have tried to have stopped, and that I think Vlad is describing. I think it was a long time ago that supposedly one of these pipes or drains was stopped, and I'm not of the view or understanding that anything was stopped more recently, in particular since the time of the commission's observations. So I think just posing to the commission whether the chronology is well established in terms of what was stopped and when, and whether indeed these would seem like modest solutions are going to change the situation and not just have us back here sooner than later.
Well, to that point, I think it behooves us, as it would in any situation where we have a cease and desist outstanding, if there's a significant rain event, that we go and inspect, see if anything's being discharged from that property and can reliably be photographed, as we did, of reaching the coastal bank, which is our concern. So we will do that while also, what's the phrase, trusting and verifying, I guess, that trusting that the folks at 33 will make good on those plans and, in fact, eliminate their contribution to any flow over the coastal bank.
Okay, we will do that. We'll definitely make good on our plans. And also, yes, I would like to see what you find when there's another heavy rain, because if there's a problem, we'll certainly address it. We just, from what our inspection now, we're just not aware of what that could be. But we'll take the steps that we outlined, for sure.
Good. I don't think, unless someone on the commission disagrees, that any other action by us tonight is appropriate. Although obviously if the damage continues at the next significant rainfall, we'll have to consider moving to enforcement. One final hand up from Bill and Ellen Cross.
I just wanted to ask you as chair, Steve, is it practical for you to explore more deeply the obvious simple solution of putting in a French drain? Is that, as Dr. Ratushny said, that would seem the obvious solution to address the problem over the long term versus the jerry-rigged approach.
Yes, but it's for better or worse, it's not really the commission's place to propose solutions. We review them certainly for adequacy and then observe the outcomes. I mean, there aren't very many alternatives. You're right. You could, in fact, retain the rainwater and use it for gardening purposes.
Yeah, I mean,
provided that
we'd be willing to put in a French drain if the evidence of runoff and that would be the proposed solution. We would certainly do it, but I don't even know where we would put the French drain now, where the water runoff problem is. I mean, the only thing that comes to mind for me, I wanted to show you one last picture, is would the French drain be over here by Mr. Ratushny's property? Like, this is all ledge that flows down. And so if there's runoff over here that he's, thinks there's a problem with, it's likely coming from his own property and funneling down all of this ledge. And I don't know how us having a French drain closer to our property would solve that.
We're
That's all.
not asking anybody to solve runoff from other properties. We're simply asking for the stormwater that comes off the roof and out of the cellar of 33 to be retained on site. How you do that is up to you, and any number of good drainage engineers can come. Be glad to recommend, Bethany can recommend several names to you if you don't have any. Come and tell you where is the appropriate place and appropriate sizing and preparation and what the budget needs to be to make that happen. It's not a very complicated.
Steve, that plan
not
is
like putting in a septic
in
system.
place already.
I thought so. All right. If there are no other comments from the commission, let's leave that there and wish you luck getting that solution solved.
Okay.
That brings us
Thank
to
you.
7 Central Street, which is another subject of a cease and desist order. And I believe we have a discussion tonight about moving to an enforcement order with fining for the period in which unpermitted activity in the resource was occurring. Bethany, or do you want to give us a quick update on where things stand now?
My update is like Tuesday, April 14th, I was informed that there was digging on the site, on the side of the site on in the back of 7 Central. So I went over there with the DPW director, Chuck, and asked I'm not sure, his name was Michael. I'm not sure what his role is, and I know there's a lot of people at AGM and other places, and I asked them to get the proper permits for that and to stop because there was no one came to the office at all at Seaside 1 to discuss, oh, there was an emergency, like no emergency permits or anything happened there. And I did message Arthur with Beatrice at AGM to tell them that they need to stop and file the proper permits, and a cease and desist was sent Tuesday and a follow-up enforcement order was sent on Wednesday. And if the commission decides to do an enforcement, it would have to be ratified by vote by the majority of the Conservation Commission. But since then, I think they stopped because I see no disturbance and it seems to be back to its original condition. And it was only for like a couple days, but I'm only there so many days of the week, so I can't speak for like all the days. But right now, it seems that nothing is going on right now actively. And that's my
Okay, thank you.
spiel.
And as far as the previous RDA, which had some important conditions attached, have all those conditions been met?
Yes, so I've worked with Arthur. I've messaged him throughout the months. Arthur Flamia and Beatrice is also attached to these emails as well, as you can see in my attachment of correspondence, asking him for these materials about the concrete pad and the parking plan memo, and he did send those after I met with people on site at 7 Central on April 14th. So I feel like those 2 conditions of the concrete pad and the parking plan have been met through those memos that Arthur submitted.
Okay, thank you. Now, is there anyone here tonight representing 7 Central? And if so, do you want to have the floor for a couple of minutes? I'm hearing none. So, commission, ready to hear a motion on enforcement?
I have a
David.
question.
David has a question.
Bethany, you said there was digging back there behind 7 Central. What was the purpose of the digging? Did you inquire?
I inquired with Michael. Just give me a second. I'll pull up the site photos I included in your packet real quick. Asked Michael, who I think was like the site lead. I think he's a contractor from by AGM. And he told me it was for storm water drainage, like a dry well, and there was a big like contraption, I think, for stormwater drainage, and that was the purpose of the digging. But they did not tell the office or beforehand if any like emergency work or anything needed to be done. It was just kind of discovered.
So follow-up question. Bethany, was this a new dry well or were they uncovering an old dry well? What were the specifics involved in that? Maybe it was a
Yeah, the
repair.
photos will help here, David, if Bethany, if you can get them to come up.
Just give me a second, please, while I just pull it up. You see it?
Yes.
This was April 14th, and as you see, I'm not sure, I'm not the best at stormwater like management, but this is the contraption that I'm talking about, this like cylindrical um thing. That's the dry well, and they were digging all along the sides of 7 Central, but everything has been like done or not done because everything has been put back to original conditions right now.
And Bethany, was it a, go ahead, David.
Was that dry well put in place and then covered over, or what happened to the piece of concrete and all that gravel and the dirt pile?
That is the mystery of the day. I do not know. I told them to not put it in and to get the proper permits, at least an RDA. But no one has like let me know. I just know he told me that's what they were doing on site. The site manager or whoever, I don't know his exact title, on site. That's what he told me it was. And they were gonna place it like right here.
So it's all disappeared at this point. There's no evidence of that right now. Is that what you're saying?
It all looks like original site conditions. I have no clue. Like I'm only there a couple days a week, so I can't like see like 20 like surveillance, of what's like going on when I'm not there.
And we have no
Bethany,
permit for any digging there, period.
Yes.
So
And Bethany, just as a reminder, we did make a condition of the prior RDA that absolutely no work occur in the resource without notifying the commission and applying for the proper permit.
Yes, exactly.
It would make sense to me.
This is not a
Steve.
case of ignorance of the law.
Yeah, it would make sense to me that we uncover the facts of the situation before we apply a cease and desist right away. It seems to me a cease and desist.
What other facts,
What other facts do you need?
There was no permit.
There was no
permit.
permit.
There's
Has the work
equipment
already
there.
been done?
No, it obviously was begun. There's equipment there. There's materials.
Or has everything just been removed? Did they decide that, okay, we should not be doing this,
David,
let's remove all this?
David, if it helps, also, I had walked by on the front of the property a couple of times during that period, and that whole area where sort of behind the digger that you see in this photo, that's sort of pavers and stuff like that, that was all dug up. There was work being done in the ground to lay pipes and things like that. And I believe after Bethany contacted them, the work still continued, and then they just put it all back together. So my sense is that they just finished what they started and went to work, but we'd have to hear from them to know, exactly. But
yeah, and David,
I think the thing that's shocking is, we said very clearly and got agreement from them that no other work was going to happen without getting proper permits, and then work happens, right? So
So wouldn't the appropriate response be to ask them for an after the fact application for
I think it's been
permission?
asked.
They're experts at after the fact.
Yeah, David, we put them on notice. They agreed, they complied belatedly with the other conditions of the RDA. You remember we let them do their initial work, all of that, stairways and landings and other things in the resource. We let them do all that under an RDA to be generous to them. And not only did they do this work without mentioning it to us or applying for a permit, but they've been very stingy with answers. So no one can answer your question. What became of the pile of dirt? What became of the pile of gravel? Where is that storm scepter? Where is the small digging machine moved to? We don't know. I mean, these facts speak for themselves. The rest of it is up to them to explain. I'll also note that when we last visited the site after the RDA, all of the area in the foreground was covered with a light colored stone, like a beach stone. It's very attractive. And they said this was the finished look. This was how it was going to be for the residents to drive in and park their cars. And one has to observe that most of that has been scraped away, constituting more work in the resource. Not sure where that went. Not sure what precautions were taken to protect the resource when that work was ongoing. But the issue here is simply a client who prefers to beg for, well, not even beg, allow for forgiveness rather than asking for permission. And that's simply not how the wetlands protection laws work.
So Steve, is your proposal to put a cease and desist for further work?
No, we issued the cease and desist on Bethany's authority on mid-April.
April
You
14th.
have to look at April 14th.
When
And they,
this
in
photo
fact,
was
complied.
taken.
They complied after a few days, as Bethany said. Not sure what work ensued in the immediate days. Well, what we're proposing tonight is to issue an enforcement order, which has to be voted by the commission, and to issue fines for the days in which they were in violation, during which they were in violation, which are
After the fact.
determined by Bethany.
So you're gonna fine them after the fact for all those days in which they.
Yeah, so we're doing this purely on we're doing this on DEP's strong advice and in consistent with the enforcement manual that DEP has published for Conservation Commission. We tried to cross every T and dot every I. And speaking personally, I think this is a case where without a fine, even though it's peanuts, $300 a day for a few days for a project of this scale, without a fine, it's like we're shouting in the dark to nobody. And maybe this will get a little more attention. It's symptomatic that no one is here tonight to represent them and explain what's been going on, why they would have undertaken this in direct violation of the conditions of an RDA that was less than 6 months old. It's not how we should conduct business in the town of Manchester. It's not how any other property owner would expect to behave, and this is how I think anybody who goes to this extent of ignoring rules, laws, and processes should expect to be treated. What do others think about this? Moving to enforcement.
Totally agree, Steve. We can't just walk away from this and.
yeah, I don't think we have a choice. I mean,
I
we're
mean, we
staring at the
really have
evidence.
bent over backwards to try to encourage them to come forward, get the correct permitting, and it hasn't happened.
How many days are you proposing to fine them for?
Well, we only have
Bethany,
evidence of 3 days, so that's like the time that we like have pictures and evidence of them disturbing the area. So only 3 days.
Do we
Because they put
still-
everything back, so you can't find them for like original conditions, even though there might be something there, but we have like no proof of it. You know what I mean?
Well,
I'm just trying to go
could,
by the enforcement manual. That's all.
but you could ask the contractor how long they were on site. That could have been a
Well,
week-long project.
Yeah, we're not particularly well set up to take testimony and collect evidence and conduct judicial proceedings, unfortunately. And we certainly don't want to involve the police in a matter this minor in terms of public safety. So we figured this is the most direct approach. The cease and desist letter, by the way, as they always do, um, requires them to come to the next meeting and to file a timely application. Their choice, either an RDA or an NOI or something else. If they think something else is appropriate, none of which has happened. So we're not proposing to enforce on them that. It's simply for the 3 days of overt violation of an impact on the resource. All right, could I hear a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we continue with issuance of the enforcement order against 7 Central, as stated previously.
I'll second
I think-
that.
Bethany, do we need to append the fine to that?
I think I think the correct wording is you vote to ratify the enforcement order that was sent out on April 15th.
I will
Just to make
amend
it
that
clear.
movement to enforce to ratify the enforcement order sent on April 15, 2026 to 7 Central.
I'll second that.
For a second?
Yep.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Jim,
Aye.
Gordon,
Aye.
Olga,
Aye.
David,
Hi,
and the chair is Henry, sorry.
Aye.
And the chair is an aye as well. Now, I think the fines need to be voted separately.
Mm-hmm.
So let's have a motion to that effect.
For 3 days.
I
Yes.
move that we issue a fine of $300 a day for 3 days.
You want to specify the calendar days?
April, 15, 16, 17?
Yes.
Seconded.
Or great. Thank you. All those in favor? Gordon,
Aye.
Olga,
Aye.
David,
no,
Jim,
Well, I like to hit them for more, so I'll just say aye.
thank you. Henry,
Aye.
and the chair is an aye. All right, that concludes 7 Central, I believe.
I mean, if you
next-
said, if you said that the fine is based on the number of days you were under construction, you kind of leave open if it turns out, that they were there longer and their lawyer tells them to pay more. But we don't want
Yeah.
to have this go
I
on
think
forever.
the next step is contact them again and contact DEP.
Yeah.
So
I just want to say.
Yeah, I don't
I'm-
think anything would preclude us from adding additional fines if additional violations were documented in the past.
Yeah, I don't believe in punitive after the fact fines. We could do that for so many properties in town. Let's use fines going forward, not looking back in time for violations. Seems so inappropriate and punitive.
It's hard to issue a fine for something that hasn't happened yet, isn't it?
I think they're always after the fact. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's when you knowingly avoided doing something, particularly when you agreed to do it, and they are a commercial group, they know what they're doing. This isn't, it's very, I mean, I think there's a lot of people who end up in a fine situation because they actually didn't know they needed approval to cut a tree or something, but I mean, these guys know quite well what's up. So,
Great. So thank you, commissioners. Next on our list is the use of the Wetlands Fund for professional development for our own Bethany Barstow.
Yeah. I want to take some wetland delineation classes from like MACC and other places, and I just need your approval to do that. To use the Wetlands Protection Act fund. And the Wetlands Protection Act fund, Mark and I were discovering, can only be used for certain things, and that is one of them.
Great
Excellent.
idea.
And you will bring us specifics of the amounts and programs when you know them?
Yes.
Great.
I make a
In
motion that we
principle-
approve Bethany's course in the Wetlands Protection Fund,
Second.
professional development.
Good. All those in favor? Gordon?
Aye.
Olga? Temporarily absent. Jim?
aye.
She's
David.
back.
Aye.
Lamb and
Olga,
I,
we're voting on approve.
sorry.
Thank you. No worries, Henry.
Aye.
And I'll make that unanimous. Thanks. Next matter is discussion related to removal of hazardous trees in Powder House Trails. Olga or Bethany, want to bring us up to date?
Yes, and I might have you, Steve, open the map because my map's buffering right now.
Yeah,
But
Bethany.
Okay. Does use a
so
lot of.
yes. So Mark, Terry from Trails, Olga, and I was discussing with Olga that like when I went to like Powder House, there was a lot of widowmakers, a lot of hazardous trees that are alongside the trails that I feel like could be like a problem for like in the future in case someone gets hurt. It's mainly for safety concerns. So we went out there like a couple weeks ago and to mark with Olga with her spray paint, to mark all the trees, yes, that were dead as doornails and that would be a hazard if they fell on the trail. We didn't like look at trees that are deep in the woods because that's not like a hazard to people on that are using the trails. And when we were out there, I used an app on my phone and I took pictures and I pinned each tree and I created a map on Google Earth using a KMZ file, which Steve is pulling up for you guys right now. It's slowly.
This thing
Loading.
is a resource hog. Google Earth.
I know. But it's cool once you get to see it.
Okay, there we go. It's just a few trees they spotted.
Yes, 63 trees in
How many
total
total?
that we spotted.
But the coolest part is I just go in and click on a tree. And there it is, marked with an X, an explanation why, etc.
If you click on one of the pins on my interactive map on Google Earth, it will show you a photo and the geotagged location of a tree. So if anyone wants to like use it to like, if we have like a contract route, you can see here, they can see that and be like, oh, this is the tree that they discovered on the trail. And I feel like maybe we can use this app like in different places in town and stuff like that. But yeah, this is the trees, the hazardous trees.
Is that one of the hazardous trees?
So how many 100,000s? Well, they're leaners
Yes,
or
this-
they're dead or
Well, hit a
Yes,
couple, there's some,
yes.
hit different ones and it'll show you.
We're not tree experts, so we would obviously have like we were trying to get like maybe Mark and I were discussing like getting Tom out or like someone that's a certified arborist to like confirm, but this is just like our initial findings stage
Yeah, I think
of trees that looked.
the next step would be to go out with Tom Henderson and or some of the board members who wants to go and look at them, or you can, of course, go on your own. You have the map here. And so that we could reconvene at another date, at another of your meetings and have you approve this is conservation land, approve the removal of the trees. So
Yeah, there is actually a chunk. It's kind of a pie wedge here that belongs to MECT, but the rest of it is under our supervision.
That's a very
So
small
we'll
area.
wait till we get a better. Pardon?
I'd like to be part of that. I can tell you, having lived right on the edge of that for many, many years, that's a very small area, Powder House Hill. 63 trees sounds like an awful lot. So I would like to be part
Yeah,
of
it's kind of 1 per acre.
David, you can
Yes.
just go walk in there and you'll see all the ones that are marked with the spray paint.
Okay.
well, I'll try and set something up with Tom Henderson, and then we'll send out an email to the board and see who can make it. Or would the board just prefer to do their own site walk when you're available?
I'd rather go with Tom Henderson.
Yep, me
Okay.
too. Good idea.
And
I
don't
think there's an
forget that
overhanging tree.
we also didn't just go on the main fire road trail. We did, as you can see, we went all over all the trails.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
would the idea be that
this
you've
is
got
a
to remove
loop a
the
lot of
trees?
people walk.
Or at least prune them for like safety purposes. Because tree falling on people or anything like that is very hazardous, like what happened in Melrose and stuff like that. So
Do the trees
Well, if
stay
you
there or do they have to be removed?
we generally let them return their carbon gradually as deadfalls,
Right.
good habitat, etc. As long as they're not blocking the trail. If you'll forgive the bad pun, Tom Henderson can do some tree triage and let us know which of these, are more urgent in his opinion.
we did more of
Because
like
I'm
an
not sure we have the
overview.
funds to do 63 trees, but maybe we do. And these are these trees that by and large, citizen volunteers with chainsaws can't tackle?
What? Please,
Some,
no.
some of them not.
Oh, okay.
Let people get
Well, yeah,
on
never
firewood.
underestimate Henry Ottinger and a chainsaw.
Yeah, baby.
And these trees can just be dropped and left there. So it's not
Right.
like, it's not as expensive as having
We
to
don't have
haul
to
them
chip
out
them.
and cut them up.
Yeah, they don't need to be chipped up, etc. Okay, well, thank you, Olga, Bethany, and members of Open Space and Mike and Ted for doing that. The last matter I have on this list says golf balls in Sawmill Brook, and that's because I got an email from the stream team saying that they had done a kind of ad hoc removal of golf balls from Sawmill Brook just downstream from where it leaves the golf course. And they picked up dozens. This was a year ago, and aside from near frostbite because of the cold water, no damage was done. They wanted to know, would Conservation Commission have any issues, or do you have any advice about repeating it? The only thing that occurred to me, I mean, it's a good idea to get plastics out of Sawmill Brook, and golf balls are plastic with a synthetic rubber core. So they don't erode, they don't degrade quickly, but they definitely degrade. The only thing that concerned me was if a golf ball, like anything else, has been in the stream long enough, it may actually have become part of the useful habitat with overgrowth of aquatic, stream vegetation and things like that. Any other thoughts about that?
They're asking whether they can have permission to go pull the golf balls out?
Yep.
Yeah, it seems, let them go to it. That'd be my view.
Okay.
I would endorse it.
You
I
agree,
volunteer
Wolfie?
to help them.
Good.
Maybe we can get some golf balls designed that have granulated activated charcoal or granular activated charcoal. We can clean up the PFAS while we're at it.
And I just
Good
have to
idea.
apologize. My short game is so bad that I may have hit some balls into the stream, like to practice.
I propose we fine Henry for every golf ball that goes into the
Yeah.
brook.
They're all mine. They're all marked.
The-
You can
Well,
you
next
can
time
trace
you're
them.
tired of national news, Google, are golf balls harmful in the water? You'll get stories like this high school student who went diving off a Northern California coast near a golf course and found, thousands of golf balls in there. Apparently people, in the evening take a couple of drinks out there and just whack the balls into the ocean. You'd never do anything like that, right, Henry? Golf balls on the moon, that I understand, but yeah. Okay, that's all I have, folks. Anything else not envisioned when we set up the agenda?
I have one thing, Steve.
Fire away, Mark.
Okay, so I've been talking with Chair at the Open Space Committee about trail markers. Olga was part of that discussion. In the past, they've used these aluminum round trail markers with different colors. And so I looked up the brand that they are. And if we order a bunch of trail markers and arrows, because I have some budget money left that I can, excuse me, that I can use to purchase this, it comes to about $1,000. And that would probably supply us for a while. But then in following up with Terry and Amy Bondolin, I think is her last name, from the
Blondin.
What?
Blondin.
Blondin, who is from the Cape Ann Trail Stewards, that they have switched to using paint on on the trails as opposed to a lot of the aluminum markers, which disappear over time because they can be, pulled down. And they have been using paint. They use like a process, Terry described it, where they go in and they scrape a little, like a layer of the bark off, and then they paint the color with like a latex paint. So it's not really a hazardous kind of paint. And apparently it lasts quite a while, and it's very visible. There's a particular brand of paint that they use. And so I wanted, since most of the trails that they've been talking about marking, which is obviously are on some of them are conservation land, like up in the Manchester Woods. It's kind of a piecemeal of different types of properties. Does the commission want to continue using the aluminum markers, or would you want to switch over to paint markings on trees, which is, it's more cost effective, and it's kind of they're both simple to do, so it's not like a technical thing. So just putting it out there,
It's like, I'm thinking like for Powder House, we already have the metal ones. Do we want to switch out to paint, or should we, new areas that we're doing, should we apply paint? I don't know. we're gonna have a hybrid at this point.
Right.
So,
What do
Mark, I
others
would
think?
ask, are we damaging the tree by removing the bark and the cambium layers of the tree and then painting them?
So apparently they don't like remove all the bark on one side. They just scrape a little bit of the outer bark so that the paint will adhere better. Like with a side of a knife or something, just to, scrape the
Or
outer layer off. And then they apply the paint and they use a latex paint. There's a particular brand of exterior paint that they like to use that apparently is very visible and lasts quite a while. So rather than putting nails in trees and
yeah, I'm good with either. The best practices for nailing those badges, metal badges on the trees have been to nail them top and bottom because the tree never changes that dimension once you've nailed it in. If you put them side to side, the tree will in fact expand its girth.
I would still buy
Are you looking for a decision, Mark?
Yeah, so unfortunately, there's not a lot of time because I want to utilize this year's budget for the purchase of the trail markers. I would still purchase some of the arrows so that where trails fork or move, go a certain way or split and one color goes one way, we would still use I'd still purchase some arrows, but instead of, I'd buy paint instead. And that's something that's low cost that, we can buy fresh pints of paint, when we need to. The trail markers, I would buy a batch of, they come in about a batch of 100 is you get the best price for on a per emblem thing. So I'd buy, 100 of 4 different colors, and then I'd buy 20 of each of the colored arrows as well. So the total comes to about $1,000. So,
And we
but then it
already
would be
have
stocked up for a while.
and we already have a whole lot of these trail markers. So, it's just a matter, we need more colors.
Yeah, you have green is what.
I know, let's nail in the trail markers and paint them. Sorry. I must be getting punchy.
Well, my 2 cents is at this point, we want to mark where we already have the trail markers. I would be inclined towards just buying them, Mark, and going that route. But then when we get into the western woods on some of the bigger trails, we can start utilizing paint.
So where do you, so in,
I don't know. I think we're gonna end up with a hybrid. We need a few more in Powder House, not a lot.
so what do you have, what colors or what is in powder? You have a whole ton of green ones. Are those in Powder House or?
Trying to think. We have orange,
Yeah, there's a
red.
green.
So you know what? Maybe we should just get the arrows, Mark, and then we just use the colors of paint with the markers that we already have on the trails that we have to supplement with more guidance. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Good.
So I can buy, for less money. I mean, you pay more per tag, but I can buy, let's say 20 or whatever there's like 3 tiers of pricing. So the cheapest tier is 100 or more. So I can buy like the second tier of pricing which is like 20 or 25. And I can buy a smaller batch of each of the colors so that we'll have them in stock in the office. And if we need to do that, but what we'll do is kind of moving forward for trails that either aren't marked or only have a few, we'll move toward paint.
Yeah.
And we'll have some arrows, colored arrows. We'll purchase some colored arrows. So the cost might be $400 or $500 for tags now instead of 1,000. But it'll be we'll have and then we'll move toward paint like in the Western Woods, on the much bigger trails.
That's what would make sense to me. Steve, are you too punchy to respond?
No, that sounds like the right compromise. Thank you, Olga.
Well, are you guys ready for me to hit the adjourn button?
Please.
I don't know, everybody looks pretty, they look riveted.
I'll move the
unless any of our stragglers, Mr. Davies or Mr. Burke, have something pressing
No,
for us.
Mr. Davis is here because I asked him to check out how it works as a potential new member once I depart.
Olga, you're supposed to tell us you're doing that in advance so we can all be on best behavior.
Be on your best behavior because end of June I stepping down.
No.
Oh my gosh.
No,
Yes.
no.
Following the arrow in a different direction.
It hasn't been
Yeah.
enough years, right?
And David,
It's
Well, I have
we're
you
gonna
guys
have to have 3
real
or 4
quick.
retirement parties for you.
David's
And
with
I
us.
don't wanna
need parties.
steal his thunder, but Jeff Bodmer Turner will deliver a similar message to us when he
Yeah.
is able to come.
Oh, Olga, by the way, there's going to be a party.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't want parties.
Oh,
Beach
yeah.
party.
Wow.
wait, hold on.
And while I have you all here, I have a lot of things like the regulations, the MACC book in print. I have all these things. Would you like that in the office? So if somebody wants to have printed copies?
Sure.
Yes.
You know, I hate to just recycle them. That would not make sense. All right.
Yeah,
Now we
bring them
adjourn.
over. Just David, double checking. You're still going to do another term on the commission?
Yes, he is.
Yeah, yes, I did say yes. I would like
Yes.
to.
You did,
Sorry,
yeah.
I'm sorry for
David
the
said
delay.
yes.
I'm
And
thinking-
yeah, I'm trying to recruit someone. That's why I asked Bennett to sit in and see if it's something he's interested in. I've asked a few people. I'm still working on it.
Good. Bravo. Keep it up.
I move that we adjourn.
All right. Is there a second?
Yes.
Yes.
Seeing no objections, we stand adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good
Bye.
night.
Mr. Davies,
guys.
if you
See
have
you.
any questions, just holler.